Okay, here we go. Let me just wait for it, make sure everything is loading in. All right, I think YouTube, you are awake. Rockfin, where are you? Rockfin, you're taking your time. All right, YouTube, you awake? YouTube's taking their time too. Up, I think YouTube is all right. So we got Twitter, we got YouTube. Rockfin, there you are. Rockfin, they heard. It just took a minute, but they did hear. All right, now we're on and we are officially up and loaded. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the headline show for the week. And we got some fun stuff to talk about today. I don't know if fun's the right way to put it, but we'll go with fun. Why not? Fun. Thanks for being here. Hope you are well. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever your time zone is. And to everyone checking out the podcast later, how are you? Thanks for being here. And by the way, podcast folks, if you don't mind, write a nice review for the audio podcast. I know some of you guys get this on YouTube, some on Twitter, some on Rockfin, some on the audio podcast later. If you're an audio podcast later person, please do write a review if you would be so kind. Anyway, we got some headlines to get through today. And first and foremost, joining me on the headlines is one of the regulars. It is that time of the month. And actually, technically, last week was supposed to be that time of the month, but I didn't do a show last Thursday because of my wife's birthday. So she's here this week instead. Please welcome the co-author of the Yas Queen Chronicles, Savage Joy. What's up, Joy?
Hello.
Good to see you. So
You
before we
too.
jump into it, you said in your message to me that you were on a plane?
Yeah. So my in-laws have a guest house for a month every March in Florida. Siesta Key, which is right by Sarasota. So we went out for like 5 days and just kind of mooched off of them.
That's nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
nice.
it was nice. We were like, their place is ridiculous and it's right on the beach. So you walk out of the condo type thing and you're in the sand. It was wonderful, and I
That
did a
sounds
good
awesome.
job of staying off the interwebs,
Oh, that well,
thankfully. So
that's so important. I mean, yeah,
it
I try
is.
so hard to make sure like I do as absolutely little as possible when I'm on like anything resembling a vacation. Just like try to like once a day max and try
Yeah.
to do even less than that. So anyway, we got some fun news today. We're gonna be talking about Antarctica and the crazy heat that's been going on there. We're also going to be talking about not one of the ones that we've already talked about, but a new bill that is a huge threat to the internet and the future of the internet, and is super dangerous as far as censorship on the internet goes. And it's another one. It feels like there's a new one of these every freaking week at this point. But we're going to be connecting the dots on this one. But first, we got a labor story here and a strike that is going on in North Hollywood that has been making a stir nationally. Strippers are on strike. Exotic dancers protest unsafe working conditions at a North Hollywood bar. And this is from Jack FM, which, first of all, I got to point out, this is probably the only way in the history of humankind that you could get morning zoo radio to cover any type of worker strike. You know what I mean? Like, this is the only
Yeah.
way. Like, they're probably just like, well, you can't go to Larry's Gentlemen's Club this weekend. It is a timeout for tatas. The strippers are on strike. Unsafe working conditions. So it's like, this is the only way you'd ever see that happen. But here's what's going on. So, a group of exotic dancers staged a protest on Friday outside of a bar in North Hollywood. Participants are protesting what they've described as unsafe working conditions at the bar. So a dancer known as Velveeta told KNX that participating dancers were specifically responding to the firing of two colleagues from the bar. One, she said, was terminated. Get this. After she intervened to stop a customer from filming another dancer on stage, and then another after complaining about customers lingering in the bar after 2 a.m. So this one guy was filming, which you're not allowed to do at a strip club. They said, hey, you can't do that. You got to stop. That person got fired. And after 2 a.m., when the strippers are trying to leave and go home, people were lingering outside. You don't know what they're up to. You don't know what they're going to try to do. and somebody complained about that and got fired, it gets worse. Um, Velveeta further explained that the dancer fired was reprimanded by management prior to her termination. So get this quote: "We cannot call security over." This is one of the dancers talking. "We cannot call security over if we have an active issue with a customer. We have to go through management." So just let that sink in for a second. Like I'm not a connoisseur when it comes to strip clubs. I think I've been to a strip club maybe 3 times in my entire life. But this idea that like there's always someone who does something they should not be doing there. And like especially in the TV shows and stuff, the way they dress it up is like you call security comes over, they kick that person out, no questions asked. And honestly, that's the way it should be. At this place, you can't do that. You have to go through management. So if someone is acting in a way they're not supposed to, well, you're doing that job. I mean, that's freaking nuts when you think about it,
So what the fuck is security there for? Like
right?
appearance? Or that is so gross. And these people are fucking heroes for doing this. Like, more power to these women because
They
I
shut it down, by the way. They shut the club down. Yeah.
awesome. Because, well, first of all, let's just say sex work is work.
Mhm.
All sex work is work, and they should all be respected. So that aside, you know, these women, I've been to two different strip clubs, and one was my bachelorette party, and one was to hang out with Ron Jeremy, which now I realize was a big mistake. Um, but you know, you see, I mean, dudes do act, they're like they they look with their hands
Right.
sometimes,
And you can't do
and
that.
these women have a right to feel safe. And I know some people will say, well, what can you expect? You're naked on stage and stuff. That's not in their job description. They
Yeah.
are not selling their bodies. This is nothing physical. They are, first of all, have you ever seen dancers? Like, they're freaking acrobats. They're
Mhm.
incredible. So they are there to, to entertain, but that doesn't mean you can put your hands on them.
Right.
And I cannot imagine how unsafe you would feel that you have dudes in security shirts, but you have to like
And they can't
run
do
to the back.
anything. Yeah, like what the hell? Like that it should just be like they say, "Hey," and that security guard is over there and they kick that person out.
The security guards should
Yeah.
fucking see it happen. They should be
Right.
watching the girls.
Sure. Yeah. But
That's
yeah, this
awful.
idea you have to go through management? Like what do you fill out a form too? Like what the hell?
He's probably like, management's probably like, well, how much money did they spend? Because
Oh my
if
god.
it's over $100, yeah.
Well, this gets worse. So
Oh
here is
God.
we're going to play a video. This is one of the dancers protesting and you know what? Full disclaimer before we move on. I wonder if there are more strip clubs operating this way and how
Oh
they're freaking
yeah.
getting away with it if they are. And if they are, hopefully this sparks a whole thing because this is like beyond messed up what they're doing. I mean, aside from everything we just covered, here's some more on the economic side of things and why these dancers are striking. So check this out. This one of the dancers here is going to describe their working situation from an economic standpoint.
Most strip clubs do not classify their workers as employees, which is illegal. They claim that we're independent contractors, or at this particular club, they have you sign a lessee, like leaser agreement, and they claim that you're in there renting their space to do your business. And then they don't pay us, and they take half of our lap dance money as a fee for renting the space. So most dancers who were unemployed during the pandemic had to rely on their savings, or resort to different, like perhaps more dangerous ways to make money.
So like, let's go through everything she said there. Now, first of all, full disclaimer, I actually don't know if that's accurate that a dancer in that situation being an independent contractor is illegal. I think that some of the laws we have here in California, that might be accurate, but I don't know if that's accurate all across the country. Just for clarity purposes. But what she's saying is that not only are you just a contractor, even though it is called a strip club and you are stripping, but also they charge you for the real estate itself, i.e., the stage. That is like double and triple dipping into the money that you earned. And if you weren't on that stage, nobody would be in that establishment. No one
Exactly.
goes to a strip club for the frickin' food. That has never happened in the history of ever, and I'm sure it never will. You are there for that reason. So it's like you're charging them multiple times over for the privilege of basically being on your stage, where it's like, well, if they weren't on your stage, nobody would be in your establishment. No one's coming for the DJ. All right.
Yeah, they're trying to be legal pimps, is what they're trying to do. They're like, you do all the work, and first of all, at the very least, they should get 100% of their tips. They're
Oh my
being
God,
tipped.
yeah.
The
You're
establishment's
tipping
not
them.
being tipped. Like, they're not like, this stage is gorgeous. Look at this pole. It is a beautiful pole. No, they're tipping those
Oh.
women because of what they can do. Oh my freaking God.
If you're going to be an independent contractor, which again, I think that might be illegal in the state of California. I don't know if that's the case nationally, but regardless, if you're going to be an independent contractor, you should have a certain agreement and you should totally be getting 100% of your compensation. I mean, it's like you should be getting a decent hourly rate for being there or however it works. And you should be getting 100% of any tips you bring in because strippers, they do lap dances and stuff like that. So it's really freaking nuts to see this. And they have shut it down. And this is just another extension of just, the labor market, people just saying we have had enough. And this is just another expose of stuff that's going on that is really, really exploiting people. And it's like, they're uncovering stuff that's going on in our factories. They're uncovering stuff that's going on in in our car manufacturers. They're uncovering stuff that's going on in show business behind the scenes for camera people and operators. And now it's like they're exposing stuff that's going on in the the gentleman's club industry, whatever you want to call it, stripping industry, whatever, adult entertainment.
And that's so heartbreaking how she said, those without savings are, resorting to doing things that are very unsafe because they
Yeah.
still need an income.
So before we move on to another topic, I gotta bring this up because it sort of loosely connects here. Have you ever noticed? And I feel like you and I have had this conversation about this before when it's been like a related topic. But there is that portion of the left that is like evangelical when it comes to this sort of thing. And I don't get it. Like I just don't get it. Like I'm not, and again, like again, I've been to a strip club maybe like 2 or 3 times in my life. There's nothing wrong with it. Like I enjoy a naked body just as much as the next person. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going to a strip club. There's certainly nothing wrong with working at a strip club. But there's this portion of the left where they're like so evangelical when it comes to sex work. And like when you tweet about it, like their responses, it's like they sound like they just walked out of a Pat Robertson show or something. And it's like, what? I mean, I'm of the persuasion of, hey, you can do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else. And what business is it of mine to judge? I mean, that's it. Like that's really it. And some of these arguments you see, You're just like, "What the?" I mean, someone said, "Well, you don't realize it's exploitation." And I was like, "Well, how is it I mean, if the business is doing things like this particular club is doing, yeah, that's exploitation, but it's not exploitation because of the job. It's exploitation because of what they're doing around the job." But then it's like, "Oh, well, no, it's exploitation because someone said this to me once, Joy. They said, most people who do stuff like have an OnlyFans or whatever, they wouldn't do it if they didn't have to make a living." And I was just like, as opposed to any other job, like, as opposed the person who busts their ass at Walmart and gets exploited for 60 hours a week, they're doing it for love of the game. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, I'd love to live in a world where nobody had to do something they didn't want to do, and we could all just live in harmony. But we don't live in that world. So who the hell am I to judge how anyone makes a living as long as they're not harming anybody else? And who are you to qualify that the person being exploited, busting their ass for minimum wage is any different than the person who has an OnlyFans? Who are you to make that
Absolutely.
qualifier?
Like it's very prudish. Like it's okay to be comfortable with your body. It's okay to admit you love sex. It's okay to, be comfortable in your own skin and, be open about that. Like that is okay. It is so antiquated to be like, "Oh, the only reason people do this is because they're hurting or they have a daddy issues," or we hear it all, and it's just
It's
like
so horrible.
there is nothing feminist about telling women they should and shouldn't do something. Let's just get that right. Feminism, true feminism, means you do what you want as a strong woman and I will support you. That is feminism. So when they take it like, are some women being exploited? Absolutely. No question. But to say that it's the majority of people is just completely incorrect. And same thing with porn. You see people saying, the same exact thing. And my theory is you don't have to watch it. But if these women are grown women, it is their choice. They enjoy what they do. Who are you to tell them not to do this? Who are
Yeah.
you? And
Yeah.
honestly, when people say shit like that, I seriously think they have personal issues because they have had to break up with an ex-boyfriend who was obsessed with porn, or they caught their husband going to a strip club or something like that. And there's like personal, deep-seated loathing for
Well,
something like that.
Well, it's interesting you say that because a lot of these types of comments that I've noticed, and again, I'm just like going on like responses on Twitter and stuff like that, but more often than not, it's actually a man saying these things.
I haven't found that.
See,
Really?
I have. I mean, and maybe that's I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with like I'm a dude. You're a lady. I mean, I don't know, but a lot of
Wow.
times it's men saying, "Oh, it's exploitative," and it's just like, well, who are you to tell people what they should and shouldn't do? And then one time someone said this to me, and I think a lot of it is like deep down, there's just this evangelical, puritanical mindset that they have not shed yet. Because I mean, someone said this to me once when I was tweeting in support of sex workers' rights. They said, "Would you like it? Would you like it if your daughter was a stripper?" And I just said, "Okay, first of all, I mean, I don't have a daughter. Second of all, men can be strippers too. So why did you have to qualify daughter? Why couldn't you have just said your kid? Why did it have to be a qualifier of daughter? And third of all, I can answer your question. If I ever had kids, period, whether daughter, son, whatever, I would just want them to be happy. Full stop. I would want them to be happy. And whatever they are doing that makes them happy, as long as that something is not harming anybody else, I mean, if like murdering people makes them happy, I'm not going to approve of that, obviously. But like, as long as they are not harming anybody else, and that their line of work is just a sound thing, I don't care what it is if it makes them happy. Are there some things that like I would prefer they not get into? Yeah. And you know what one of those things is? Comedy. If I ever have kids, I really hope they don't follow my footsteps. I sincerely hope they don't. But if that makes them happy, then fine. That's no problem. You know, does that mean there's something wrong with being a comedian because I'd rather not see my kid go that route? Clearly not. But yeah, I'd rather see them get into something else. You know, like there's other things I'd rather see them get. I can't even think of what that might be, but I'd rather they not go this route. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that route. So it's like, what kind of that question has no relevance. Is by would you want to see like I would want my kid to be happy.
It's whataboutism, and Twitter loves whataboutism. They're like, well, what if it's not accurate now? I don't know what I would do. It's not it's not a valid question. Like you're forcing that on me, saying that you already know your answer. You already know that we need to say, yes, it would bother us. So like, yeah,
well,
that's
and you're trying to project it. You're trying to project it because you kind of have this puritanical mindset that you want to justify. And it's like, no, like that. I'm not going to justify your puritanical bullshit with like these hypotheticals that don't really make any sense. Like no context whatsoever. Just this hypothetical for a kid. I can't even imagine what it's like to have a kid. Period. You know, and you're so it's like people just project these things, and at the end of it, it's just like, why don't you just come out and say like you have a problem with the human body. You have a problem with sex work. You have a problem with and by the way, it's okay to admit that because, you know, especially if you're working on it, if you're like, look, man, I need to kind of get past this. I need to work on it because look, in the United States of America, we are an insanely puritanical society when it comes to the human body, when it comes to sexuality, because a lot of the people who came here and killed the people who were here first, they had very, very fringe, extreme religious views. And that kind of has kind of still continued up to this day. We freak out over a freaking nipple. It's just a nipple. It fed you at one point in your fucking life. Get over it. I'm not saying I don't enjoy boobs. We all do. That's part of being human. That's why, by the way, they used to fucking feed you. That's why everyone likes them. They fed you once.
I'm straight. I love boobs.
Everybody does.
I love my own boobs. Why not?
Right on.
But yeah, I was talking about that on my my show with my two co-hosts, Postmodern Breakdown. You've been on, and we were talking about the weird.
I thought for a second you were gonna be like my two co-hosts, my boobs, and I was like, that's funny. Well done.
Yes,
good timing.
I need to name them. But yeah, we were talking about the difference of correlating nudity to sex. They're two separate things. If you go to an art show and someone is nude, you don't have to sexualize that. If you see a woman breastfeeding and you think sex, that's some deep issues you definitely want to talk to someone about. They are two very different things. And I think men, maybe as a whole, who are, judgmental about that, I think that they are probably uncomfortable because they have a very unhealthy idea of what sex should be. And they probably watch a lot of porn and feel guilty about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's I mean, a lot of the people who I was, referring to who were putting out tweets like that and say they probably are into some freaking bizarre porn.
They have like a fucking sex dungeon and shit.
Which
like,
by the way, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's like that's fine. I mean, I think like you do get to a point, and like, man, we're really kind of getting in the rabbit hole here, but it's okay. We're gonna get to climate change in a second, folks. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron.
This is an important conversation.
This is the topic, but like and this is like a hard qualifier to say, but I think at some point again, like, don't want to yuck anybody's yum. And I know people are into different things, and for the most part, things are fine. And like BDSM and stuff like that. I don't get it personally, but if that's your thing, that's fine. But I think there is, I think, a line where if you're into like legit pain and stuff, uh, there's something else going on with you that you might like need to talk to somebody.
I think
Like if
sometimes,
you're
like,
in, especially if you're into like seeing others in pain and that does it for you, then it's like, okay, that's a line. Cause now we've crossed the line of nobody's getting harmed in this situation.
I
And
think a lot of times it's what I've noticed what men do in their profession. A lot of times when men are like CEOs and presidents and things like that, they are very used to being the dominant one, and very used to do this, obey me, and then when it comes to sex, they enjoy that submissive role.
sure.
um and it's that dichotomy there. So I think there is something to that as well, but I think there is also something where some people feel like they should be punished
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So
We
let's just talk about our favorite sex experience.
Well, I think it's all about degree. I mean, I think most people, they do like, especially like with their partner, they do like some assertiveness in the bedroom. Maybe not like every minute of every day, but they do like some assertiveness. It makes you feel wanted. It's
Exactly.
sexy, right? But like, but when you want like a group of strangers to like beat the shit out of you while you're naked or something, then it's like that's like you probably have something else going on that you need to work through. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a tough because it's like some people like they take it to a place where you're like, are you? I don't know. I feel like you're harming yourself and others, and I don't know what's. I feel like pleasure kind of went away a while ago, and I don't know what to tell you. I feel like there might be something else going on. There's a big difference between that and like, oh, I like a little hair pulling or something like that. Like
Yeah.
those are two completely different worlds. Okay, so
What if you're talking about this and I'm like totally one of those people? I'm not.
I would
But
have a
what
lot
if
of
I
questions.
was?
I'd have a lot of questions. Like I'd be like, why? And I mean, first of all, you would have to qualify. Like I'd be like, well, what do you mean by one of those people? And if you're just
Right,
like,
right.
oh, I kind of like it when like, I like handcuffs or something like that. Like, well, that's yeah. I mean,
It's
whatever.
kind of vanilla,
Yeah,
honestly.
like that's not that big of a deal at all. I mean, like that's totally cool. But if you're just like, yeah, no, I like to hit strangers with a club until they're unconscious, and then I sit on their face, I'd be like, yeah, Joy, I don't think that's. And it's just like, well, but they're willing participants. I'll be like, well, I feel like both of you have something you need to work through that might not be something's up. I'm worried about you. You know what I mean? Like it all. It's all.
Fair enough, fair enough.
So
And
there's
no, to people watching, no, that is not my thing.
Joy does not like beating people unconscious and sitting on their face. This is how rumors get started. She's not into that. And if she is,
No.
she's not saying it on the air. All
My
right.
husband is listening. Oh my god.
All right. So one last thing before we move on from this topic. Here's another thing that happened. So Strippers United members at the Star Garden Strip Club, that is the club in question who's doing all of this, they've been on strike since Saturday. Instagram recently removed their account without warning. So they took down their account. They had to start a new one. It is for anyone interested. It's Stripper Strike NoHo on Instagram. You can get updates and you can find out their, where you can support what they're doing and stuff like that. So Instagram already took them down too, and we got a pretty big internet censorship story coming up here.
I
But
cannot
first,
wait to read these comments, by the way. Like, I can't
oh,
see them
and you
now, but
well, I
yeah.
mean, the ironic thing, I mean, I don't look at the comments a lot, like, while we're on, but, like, I'll occasionally just glance just to make sure, like, the stream hasn't crashed or something. And, I mean, some people, like, they already I mean, it's ironic. We bring up like how some people could be really puritanical about this stuff. We've already had that. I mean, we've already had some people, they saw the topic and they were like, "No." Like, okay, so all right. And again, it's like, okay, you have some puritanical thing you need to work through. And I guess do it on your own time. And then maybe in the future, you would be ready to talk about a story like this. Good luck to you. Good luck.
Solidarity with these women. Absolutely.
And you know what? By the way, sex is a very environmentally conscious and environmentally friendly activity. Um, and we're going to climate change now. This has been going on in Antarctica.
How though? Like how?
Well, Antarctica is known for their good strip clubs, but like,
Oh, okay. Polar bears, yeah.
the polar bears, extremes of 40 degrees Celsius above normal. So it's been up to 70 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. Unusually high temperatures in both Antarctica and the Arctic in recent days, has been going on this week, have shocked researchers who warned that extremes will become more common as a result of climate crisis. So scientists were speculating that like this is a crazy weather spike, it's a crazy fluke, it might not be a direct climate change result. But how often have we seen, quote, flukes like this become more normal? So chances are, yeah, climate change is playing a role here, and we're going to see more of these. Doesn't mean it's a permanent thing, like Antarctica is going to be 70 degrees warmer indefinitely forever, but you're going to see stuff like this on the regular. The Antarctica continent as a whole on Friday was about 4.8 Celsius degrees warmer compared to a baseline temperature between 1979 and 2000. So what's causing the high temperatures? Both of these weather events are related to a poleward transport of heat and moisture. So what happens is like as this ice melts and you get like other types of ice underneath, it absorbs sun in a different way, which will then warm the earth more. And here's another quote. Right now, we've got the lowest sea ice extent on record in Antarctica. A lot of the sea ice around Antarctica that might be there normally close to the continent is now ocean. It would be really interesting to understand if there's any connection between the low Antarctic sea ice extent and these warm temperatures. So that's what's happening. That is going on this week, up to 70 degrees warmer than it typically is. The ice is melting. It's a lower form. And when you get these types of ice, sun is absorbed differently. I can't, really fluently explain all the science behind that. But basically, the sun absorbs a different way. It messes with our overall ecosystem. It causes the warming of the planet. And one thing you've noticed in the last IPCC report, they were talking a lot about adaptation because that's the point that we've reached now.
Absolutely. I am so scared for polar bears. I mean, we've all seen those photos where they're literally standing on a patch of
And they're
ice.
starving.
Oh my God, that's so sad. That's the thing. I mean, we talk about ourselves and climate change a lot. And, while climate refugees and everything, that is a huge concern. But look at all the animals that are going extinct.
Yeah.
And things like that. Like, it's scary.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, and again, we need to do everything we absolutely can. I am totally for that. We need to get off of fossil fuels. We need to do all these things. And the clock is ticking. But they are now projecting that even if we do what we can reasonably expect to be done, we're still going to have a certain amount of adaptation. There's still going to be a certain amount of there's going to be a new normal, and the world as we know it is not going to be the same. And it's kind of like if we don't act boldly, it's all about how far up the escalator we're going to get. It's like they have that listing, and I think it's like P1 through P7. They're pretty much saying P1's out. P1's like, we do everything we can and we really mitigate this and we really crush it. And we just change the way that we freaking live in a way that we're going to be stewards to the earth. They're already saying, no pun intended, that ship has sailed. And we're looking at like P2 to P3 in a likely scenario. It could be even worse. And in those scenarios, which right now are pretty much best case, there's going to be places that are going to be uninhabitable. There's going to be species that go away. There's going to be people that are going to freaking die. There's going to be a lot of refugees, and there's going to be cities that we can't freaking live in anymore. And people still aren't taking it seriously because science can't give you an exact timeline. They can't be like, in 10 years, no one will be able to live in Miami. They don't know that. It could be 20 years. It could be 30 years. It could be 5. They don't freaking know. They can only project so much. And people use that to write it off.
And also, I don't have any kids and I don't have any grandkids. So, oh well, I got mine. Tough shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so fucking scary. I can't even fathom what we're up against. But I mean, the good thing is we do have a president who fell asleep during the climate summit. That gives me tons of hope.
Well, how about CNN? They sent freaking Wolf Blitzer to the wrong city.
Oh,
they sent him to Edinburgh. No. They sent him to Edinburgh instead of Glasgow. They just sent him. They're like, oh, there's more than 2 cities in Scotland. Well, how are we supposed to know that? We're from the USA. We don't pay attention to other places.
They both have O sounds, so obviously the same place.
You know that if Brian Williams from MSNBC would have been there, he just would have pretended he was in Glasgow. He just would have been walking around. He'd be like, I just dodged enemy fire here in Glasgow. I am for sure in Glasgow covering the climate summit. He'd find like the first like stocky looking blonde haired dude, like with kind of messed up hair. Be like, I am here live with Boris Johnson. Boris, what's your take on climate change? What are you talking about, mate? There goes Boris denying climate change again. What a wackadoo. All right. Anyway, I'm reporting.
And Hillary Clinton would have been there like, I just dodged Bosnian sniper fire.
Yeah. She too would have been so ridiculous. You send him to the wrong freaking city.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Sleep tight, folks. Though that's our leadership. That's our freaking leadership. And there is just a whole portion of like, whatever I've got in mind. I mean, whenever they talk about 2050, that is code for we don't really give a shit, so we're just going to kick this can down a hill, but we'll say some nice things.
Yeah.
I mean, he barely, in his last State of the Union, Biden barely mentioned. He didn't mention it as a topic, as in like, here's a topic we're going to talk about, climate change. He didn't do that at all. In some passing moments, he did, in fact, say the word climate and change next to each other. Some people found the need to correct me on Twitter. When I brought up, I'm like, he didn't even really bring up climate change. They were like, well, technically, he said, and I'm like, okay, he didn't bring it up as a topic. He did say the word climate and change next to each other. You can orgasm now. I know that.
Yeah.
Talking about that is a fetish I will judge. For some of you, when your fetish is you can't come unless you have a gotcha moment on social media, I will judge you for that, okay? That is the one scenario where I will fucking kink shame. Get over yourself and find something better to do with your fucking life.
I will absolutely kink shame boners for Biden. That is not okay.
There's always exceptions. Every rule has its exception.
And just a reminder, and I know I say this all the time on my show too, but Biden can do executive orders. People.
Oh, shit.
Talk to him. Demand this shit. Like, I don't think people grasp the fact that it's like, oh, well, Congress and Senate. Dude can do executive orders. Like, his president, my boss, did tons of executive orders. Trump did tons of executive orders. He has this ability. Don't accept the fact that, well, there's parliamentarian who none of us ever heard of until like 2 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, he could declare climate emergencies.
Absolutely.
He could, I mean, and executive orders he can do, especially in a public health crisis. He could give everyone health care with a stroke of a pen. He could end student loan debt with, that's why they won't even say the word student loan debt anymore. I mean, everyone, he can't hide from it anymore. Dude, you could get rid of this today with the stroke of a pen. He won't fucking do it. And it's remarkable. It really is. But
people are like, don't forget to vote blue. And it's like, cool, you guys have the Senate, the Congress, the White House, and all of our lives are utopia. So hell fucking yeah, vote blue. We don't want anything to change.
Oh, the midterms are going to be so painful. I'm not, I don't even want to think about it yet. It's going to be so fucking painful. It's going to be the same fucking record on repeat. And it's going to be, and I think Democrats, it's going to be a bloodbath. Republicans are probably going to take over both houses again, which gives Joe
Absolutely.
Biden the ultimate excuse to do nothing except for dangerous shit for the next 2 fucking years until he's out of there. It's God, it's just
But
the
the
same
DNC's
old song and dance.
DNC's donations are gonna skyrocket.
They'll
So
skyrocket as soon as they lose. They'll skyrocket as soon as they lose. They'll skyrocket in 2024. They'll probably lose the White House anyway. And then the gravy train just rinses and repeats. And that's why they don't really actually want to change the system, because it keeps the gravy train rolling for Wall Street Team R and Wall Street Team D, which is what Republicans and Democrats are. And any threat to that would mess with their gravy train a little bit. And they don't want that. And I mean, my God. And even like locally, I get a little bit more enthusiasm because it is a little better comparatively speaking. But even freaking here, the absolute obnoxious clown car of candidates for LA mayor is offensive on every level. I mean, it is so disgusting that people are just disrupting these events because it's so repulsive. You just have a bunch of people all saying the same thing. Let's let developers jerk off all over this place and let's give cops more money. That's all any of them are saying.
Yep.
And this is like, you'd think we would learn from fucking New York, who just put a cop in there. And dude, but no, we are determined to also do a shitty job. We are Los Angeles. We're supposed to be an exemplary city. We're one of the biggest cities in the country. California, 5th largest GDP in the world, blah, 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 blah. But no, we have to reset the bar for suck time and time again. And it's like the guy we have now, arguably the worst mayor in the fucking country. And they're just going to try to follow it up with more of the same. It's unfucking real. It is unfucking real. And by the way, all you people who email me and tell me about like your little town, but it's a systemic disease. Okay. Every freaking place in the country. Where's the leftist place in the United States? It doesn't fucking exist. There is no such thing because we are a neo-fascist, authoritarian, theocratic hellscape. So you can't fucking escape it no matter where you go. Coming from a guy who literally, my neighbor's the goddamn ocean. I am on the edge. If I wanted to move any further away, I would literally be swimming. And even I'm telling you, you can't get away from it. It is impossible. What if you go up to the corner in May? You can't get away from it. What if you're down at the bottom? You can't get away from it. What if you're all the way in the fucking harbor? I am. You can't get away from it. Good fucking luck. You really want to get away from it? Get a fucking passport and use it. That's the only way. Hate to break it to you. So you either try to make things better in your backyard or you fucking drive and hope someone at Border Patrol is nice to you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No doubt. If we ruled the world, Ron.
You wouldn't want me. You wouldn't want me in charge. You wouldn't want me
either.
But I at least have that self-awareness. I at least know I'm like, trust me, you don't want me in charge. I wish more people had that.
Yeah, seriously. People ask me to run for office, and I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you fucking do that to yourself? I mean, it's just like, people don't realize how terrible that actually is. And B, that there are like so many other things you can do for change. It's just one of many things. And like, so if you're going to do that, you really have to be cut out for making it in that lane. And if you're not, you are wasting everybody's time and money, including your own. I'm not trying to throw shade at the people who are trying, but it's like, if you're really not cut out for it and you know it, or you just don't have the self-awareness to know it, it's like you really are, you're wasting everybody's time. And I've seen that happen so many times where it's like these people, and it doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just like, you're really not cut out to play this game. And if you're not, you're wasting everyone's time and you're wasting people's money and you're getting people's hopes up. And this could be done. We could all be doing something a little more constructive right now. That's why, I mean, I've literally endorsed a whopping total of 2 people this year. And I doubt it'll get higher than that. And it's all for like local.
Endorsed.
You haven't endorsed everyone. Well, everyone's either local or quasi-local. I mean, it's a guy running for city council in my district. He's a good kid. He's got a bright future in politics. He's been on this show, Brian Odega. I want to try to help him win best I can. And the other one is Fatima, who's running for state district. those are the only, I mean, that's like as high as I really want to go. And I've endorsed the both of them because I know they would do a good job. And I know they're cut out for being in office. They know how to maneuver that racket. So anyway,
Well, I've interviewed over 200 candidates and endorsed 12.
that's not a bad. That's like what? That's like a fifth. That's not too bad.
Well, the last candidate I interviewed was Nina Turner.
Mhm.
And then I stopped interviewing candidates. That was last year. And now I'm like, okay, I'm getting away from electoral politics and I'm just focusing on activism and
It's very,
issues.
I mean, it's very draining and it's very, very discouraging. And
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to like get on a side tangent on electoralism because I've always made it very clear where I'm at. But yeah, so let's go to this freaking ridiculous bill. So this bill is in the digital rights sphere, and I'll do a little setup here to kind of set it up, but we'll go to EFF here. The new filter mandate bill is an unmitigated disaster. So after the defeat of SOPA PIPA, so to refresh everyone's mind on what that was, that goes back to 2012. The SOPA PIPA was Stop Online Piracy Act, and it was this bill that was intended to stop piracy online. But what it really did was it was this obscene overreach, giving government entities a lot of authority in what can and can't be posted on the internet, giving them authority to see what you aren't and aren't posting on the internet. And it was just a total overreach that made no sense within the context of the internet. And it was an incredibly dangerous bill. So they stopped it. Then they had the Case Act, and now here's the new proposal. This is the what the hell is that? Is that your phone? Is that your phone?
Sorry.
That's okay. What
Cardi B.
ringtone is that? Oh, that's Cardi B. All right. Cardi B supports getting rid of this bill. She is very much against this bill. Actually, I don't know that. I'd like to think she is, but I don't know her opinion on it. The new proposal, cynically titled the Smart Copyright Act, gives the Library of Congress, in consultation with other government agencies, the authority to
Sorry.
Okay.
Continue.
All right. So it gives them the authority to designate technical measures that internet services must use to address copyright infringement. In other words, it gives the Copyright Office the power to set the rules for internet technology and services with precious little opportunity for appeal. So we're not going to do like a super deep dive into this specific bill, but here's essentially what the SMART Act does. The SMART Act gives the Library of Congress, gives other governmental agencies the authority to kind of dictate how stuff can be put on the internet, what we can and can't put on the internet. It's in the name of protecting copyright. So here's what that means. First of all, no one disputes that copyrights are a good thing. It protects intellectual property. That's great. No one disputes that copyrights are bad. But when you look at something like copyright, playing a video for the sake of commentary, which you see online all the time, that is fair use. Anything for any type of educational component, whether it's actually educational or not, is fair use. Parody is fair use. Just straight up covering a song is fair use. You may have some royalties that you're owed, but there's like already an algorithm that determines that. So that's fair use. Satire, memes, that is all fair use. So when you have this overreach instead and have this like this randomized arbitrary algorithm make these determinations without any context or analytical thinking whatsoever, you're just setting yourself up for a whole lot of bullshit. And we're already seeing that happen. So this takes that and turns it up to 11, where it's like, oh, all of a sudden now we're going to be in cahoots. We're going to be, cracking down on all these platforms, which are instead just going to like overly censor stuff because they just want to make money. We've already seen that happen time and time again. So you take this act, you combine it with the JCPA Act, which we covered on this show last week. What was that act? Well, that act allows big media mogul companies like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News to collude with social media companies, and they get to make rules that supersede any laws. That's what that piece of legislation does. All right. So let's go to another piece of legislation that we've covered on this show, the Earn It Act. What does the Earn It Act do? It ends encryption as we know it, and it basically lets legislatures look at everything you're doing online, and that's in the name of quote unquote protecting minors. Even though everyone knows with more vulnerable messages and more vulnerable non-encrypted things on the internet, everybody is less safe, not more. I mean that's totally just batshit that they're making it out like that's protecting minors. So you combine these pieces of legislation, and I know I'm throwing a lot of digital rights stuff at you, Joy, and I apologize, but it's like I know that I'm one of like 2 shows that talks about this stuff. So it's like, but you look at the SMART Act, which would just let Library of Congress really dictate what can and can't happen online. You let JCPA, you factor that in, which is going to let big media companies collude with social media platforms on what can and can't happen. And then you look at something that will just end encryption as we know it. You combine all that, what are you going to get? I'll tell you, the end of the fucking internet as we know it.
Yeah.
It will be cable television 2.0.
Absolutely. And we notice, even, you know, as people who stream shows, we notice this shit all the time. I don't know if viewers understand how much we deal with this, like getting strikes. Like I have Jesse Jett covers a Talking Heads song for my intro of my show. I'm constantly getting, this is copyright. It's a cover.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I think, that's the thing. Like when it comes to a song, and you're not getting a strike, are you? Or are you getting a strike?
no, I'm getting
Yeah.
warnings.
See, there was, so sometimes what I've seen happen, and I'm actually fine with this, is like if a copyright owner, if their music is recognized, they're just owed whatever, like they're owed a piece of that, basically. So what happens is, like I had this situation, a singer-songwriter, David Rovix, who's been on my show a couple times. One show, he played a couple songs, and they were his songs. The the algorithm or whatever it is, or however it's done, they pick that up, so he gets a piece of whatever that show. And ironically enough, that show was actually demonetized, so he's not getting anything. But if there was anything coming in, he would get some of it because his copywritten work is part of it. I'm fine with that. All they should be doing, you shouldn't be getting a warning. You should just be getting something like, this is a Talking Head song. So, Burn is getting like a taste of, whatever. He's basically getting some of those sweet, sweet Savage Joy royalties, which,
and I'm not monetized. So
yeah. So he's getting nothing, but he would be getting something. So it's like, that's what they should be doing in that situation. If you're getting a warning, all that's saying is, again, that these systems in place don't freaking work. They don't work because there's no reason for you to get a warning for something like that. It's just like, hey, this is a copyright, so this, like, they are getting, a taste of something. Well, there's nothing to get a taste of because you're not monetized. Okay, end of story. That's it. But instead, it's like this arbitrary, oh, well, that's a warning for no good reason because we don't have decent systems in place for this. So if you have a terrible bill like this go further, which they're really pushing for this because they've been trying since 2012 with SOPA, you're just going to see a freaking nightmare where basically people are going to be getting dinged all the time for nothing. And there's already times where people are getting strikes for their own freaking work. You see that happen. Someone has footage from a story that they covered. Yep. Cable news is using it without giving them any credit, and then they get dinged. So imagine how worse that's going to get if you have corporate media in cahoots with social media, and then you have this gross oversight by government. These are real policies that are in the public sphere right now, and if we don't stop them, the internet as we know it is going to be gone. And I can't help but get very, very tired of all these people who use the buzzwords. They use the internet censorship and blah, blah, blah. They use all the buzzwords. But when it comes to actual policies around this, they're not even freaking aware of it. They're not even aware that it's going on. They can say the buzzwords. They can give a hot take on some podcast or whatever. But when it comes to the actual policy around this stuff, they don't even know what's freaking going on. And they're not going to cover it because it ain't all that great for clicks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember when we did the Fight for Our Future special
Well, and they're the people who are leading the fight for this one, by the way.
Yeah,
Not to cut you off, but just to throw that in real quick since it came up naturally. Fight for the Future is going to have a bigger call to action around this in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that.
good,
But
good.
continue.
Yeah, they do amazing work, and I was so honored to be part of that, and I learned so much. And it's really crazy, but I think you might do the same thing. But what I do to try and skirt things is sometimes I show things on Twitter. I just screen share like from actual news places so that I'm not physically taking and
Yeah.
downloading anything.
Well, I do that just because I usually just screen share like a web browser. So I just kind of like load stuff in and then play it straight from there. But
I
so
do
yeah,
it
I
so
do that
that I
same
don't
thing.
get dinged.
Really? That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, and of course, like that's something no one should ever get dinged for. And a lot of times people don't, but sometimes people randomly do, which again just goes to the system doesn't work, and of course they could have better policies in place, but they don't want to because they're just all about their bottom line. So why, if they're screwing over creators, they don't give a shit. They just want to
And
like they're not going to actually, have good structure around this stuff.
absolutely. And shout out to Rockfin because holy shit, what a world of difference between them and YouTube. No
Yeah.
algorithm, no nothing. I can say whatever I want.
Well, and they treat you
Um,
better. I mean, they treat us
mhm.
so much better. I mean, look, I'm not going to say that like there's any platform that is 100% perfect. Such a thing doesn't exist. But like when people complain about Rockfin, I'm always just like, look, it is a million times better. A million for every single reason. It is a million times better than YouTube. A
Oh
million
god,
times.
yeah.
They treat us so much better, and that's why it's like and that's one of the reasons why I'm not one of these people, when you bring up the topic of cryptocurrency, it's like you're only allowed to be in one of two camps. Either you're in the camp of cryptocurrency is the savior that's gonna give us all wings and cure all diseases, which is absolutely absurd, or you're in the camp of cryptocurrency is the devil incarnate and it lives under my bed and scares me at night, which is also freaking extreme. And it's like, why can't it just be like, hey, it's a tool that's here and there are some positive uses for it. There are also some very valid concerns, especially environmental ones, around it that we should be trying to make better. Why does it have to be all A or all B? Why can't it just be like a new, well because you won't get retweeted as much that way.
True.
But that's the
And
thing.
I
I mean,
know that is always both of our concerns. Always.
right.
Like
Exactly.
if I don't get
Exactly.
at least 1,000 on everything I tweet,
Am I even living?
I'm like temper tantrum. How dare you guys not retweet me?
Right. But so that's the thing. Like Rockfin is an example of one of the ways like a cryptocurrency can really be used to benefit a lot of people. Like when you have like kind of like it's basically just a profit sharing platform that helps creators. And we're all seeing how that is infinitely better than what YouTube does. Just infinitely better. Is it perfect? Of course not. Nothing is. But is it infinitely better than YouTube?
No
Yes.
question.
It is so much freaking better. Um, but anyway, so Fight for the Future. Go to fightforthefuture.org to kind of get the summary on all the policies we mentioned, and stay tuned next week because there's going to be a more distinct call to action around the SMART Act. It is a not SMART Act. It is a terrible piece of legislation, and we're going to be covering it more with calls to action because here on Get Your News On with Ron, we always have those calls to action when it comes to these issues. I'll do a couple chats because someone mentioned you, Joy, here. Over on the Rockfin, Roger Meadows, what is up? Thank you for the tip. You help keep the show on the air. Joy, if you lived in a ballot initiative state, I tell you don't give up on electoral politics. So small not dispute, but I would argue that ballot initiatives are slightly different than overall electoral politics.
Very.
I think they're not quite, and I understand like it's just a matter of semantics. So it's not like Roger. I'm not saying that you're wrong or anything like that. I would just say that ballot initiatives are a little different than like when I say electoral politics. I literally mean candidates and running for office.
Yeah.
That's where you're at too, Joy.
Yeah, Absolutely. I mean, if my state had ballot initiatives, I would absolutely consider voting just for that.
Right. Well, and I
I think
still
that's
vote.
very different.
I mean, I still vote. Like I don't not vote. Like I still vote. And yeah, ballot initiatives are usually the thing I'm excited about. I just don't. I mean, I guess you could make the argument it's electoral politics in the sense that you vote on it, and that's fine. I mean, I think again, it's just sort of like a definitional dispute or whatever. But I would say ballot initiatives is its own thing. When I say like electoral politics, yeah. I mean, so but anyway, Roger goes on to say, Ron, I'm glad you'll be joining Sabby this weekend. I kept pushing her, HLM, and all other YouTube hosts who lives in ballot initiative states to go file for them and get progressive policies done in states. Since feds won't do it, I believe the path forward is ballot initiatives and abolishing political parties of every level of government. Thank you for your thoughts, Roger. Thank you for that. And yeah, I'll be joining Sabby for a little bit this weekend. I'm looking forward to that as well. Thanks for the shout out there. And Robert Gilbert, what's up, buddy? Robert Gilbert says, can't stop laughing. I appreciate that, Robert. If we didn't laugh, we'd all go nuts. So I appreciate that very much.
Dare I ask why, Robert?
It was probably, yeah, it was probably that earlier stuff. I doubt
Yeah.
it was the Antarctica stuff or beyond. Or like the end of the internet, freaking hilarious. The ice is melting and we're all gonna freaking die. Hysterical. But no, it was probably joy sitting on people's faces or whatever. But like, that was probably what he's referred to.
Oh my god.
But so
Only
thank
you,
you
Ron.
very much. Thank you very much, Roger. Thank you very much, Robert. Y'all help keep the show on the air. Joy, where can people go to learn more about you?
So you can find me at Savage Joy Marie 1 on Twitter. I post more shows to Rockfin than YouTube, but you can find me on both. My shitlib parody book at savageandpat.com. And yeah, I mean, just I pretty much post everything on Twitter that all the shows I do and everything like that coming up.
All right. And of course, someone really wants to get a hold of you.
Holy shit.
Someone really wants to get a hold of
Someone's
you.
watching and they're like, yo, Joy.
They're fucking with you. Yeah. All right. Well, Joy, thanks for being here. And I will catch you next time. And yeah, thanks for being here for that time of the month. Always a pleasure.
You as well. Thank you so much. Much
All right.
love, everyone.
All right. See you later, Joy. Savage Joy, you know where to find her. SavageandPat.com. Follow her on Twitter. Check out all of her shows. I have a kink in my neck. I had to do like a, I don't know what happened. You guys might have noticed that. It happens to me. I've had kind of weird, I'll every now and again have some issues with my neck ever since my car accident in 2013. And it's never fully gone away. Anyway, so I apologize for that if any of you noticed that. But yeah. Anyway, tour dates, I got them. RonPlacone.com. Don't wait. Get your tickets now. Pittsburgh. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh next month. Can't wait to see my hometown. April 16th, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. April 18th, Toronto. April 20th, Ottawa. April 21st, Montreal. April 22nd, Burlington, Vermont. April 23rd, Portland, Maine. April 24th, Boston, Massachusetts. April 25th, New York City. Had to go through the routing in my head. I was like, wait a second, where is it right after? Oh, yeah, Burlington. So, yeah, get those tickets, ronplacone.com. Can't wait to see you all on the road. Iceland, I'm going to be doing the Reykjavik Fringe Festival. That's in late June, early July. Once I know my specific show times, I'll be announcing all that. But in the meantime, just know I will definitely be there. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, patreon.com/ronplacone. For a give what you can level, you get all kinds of exclusive perks. You get the replay of all the patron streams. You get patron Zoom shows once a month. I post full stand-up clips not available anywhere else. And I'll make you a theme song. I've been making a lot of theme songs for folks. It's been a blast. And that's all for a give what you can level. I want to build a community. So whatever level you're comfortable giving, that's all it takes. So if you got an extra $1 a month, you won't miss. Please do consider it. Patreon.com/ronplacone. Please do. Your membership goes a long, long way. Folks, that was this week's headline show. We will be back next week. And I think the interview show is going to be later in the week because my guest is on Wednesday, but I'll be announcing that closer to the date. In the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, she says meow. I say peace, love, and a general strike. I will see y'all next time.